when I was sleeping, someone was whispering my name, like, Adriel, come over here. I was like, well, what's going on? It was my friend Ashlyn. She said a skunk had wandered into the cave.
No way.
Some people want to get into adventure or they want to do more things with their life, but they don't do it because they think money is the obstacle. And money is never the obstacle. You cannot convince someone that does not want to adventure to adventure. This is the one rule you should remember. If someone does not want to go hiking, you cannot force them to go hiking. If you don't have money and you want to travel, go work at an airport, get those flight benefits, that gives you an excuse to travel. I remember when I was going to Cape Town, and I remember like flying in and you see those big mountains. In your head, the Lion King song plays.
Welcome everyone to our Everyday Talk podcast. We're very excited to have our special guest today, Adriel Johnson. Adriel has a background in marketing, personal branding, but also I think what's most fascinating about his background is his ability to bring communities, people together through adventure. And we're going to have a great conversation here today about a variety of topics. Welcome, Adriel.
Thank you.
Adriel, so let's start with how your background in marketing has and branding has helped you to build this community of people coming together.
Yeah, I'll give you a background in marketing.
Yeah,
so I graduated from BYU in international relations and a minor in business. I wish I had taken more business classes at BYU, but I didn't know that that's what I loved. And I remember the one class that I loved was marketing. I hated accounting and finance. And I remember taking an accounting class, getting to the final, and I guessed on 10 to 15 of the questions because I just really hated it. But marketing just came naturally to me. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was actually the president of the fencing club at BYU.
No way.
And because I had done fencing throughout my high school, and so I taught fencing there. And I was using the marketing principles to figure out how do I attract the attention of people that might be interested in the club, but also attract the attention of people who were good fencers, but that weren't coming. And it was this delicate balance of, because we had to get a certain number of attendants in order for us to get more funding from BYU. Mm-hmm. And it was just really fun to think through those problems. And I've always just had this natural love for bringing people together. And when I got into adventure, I just brought that to that world. Yeah. And the more that I did marketing, I worked at an agency, at a company. It's interesting when you're marketing an event or an adventure and you have zero budget. So then it forces you to be creative, to do this guerrilla marketing, text a lot of people. You think about branding more because you can't rely on spending ads or money on ads. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that is what helped me learn how to market to bring people together. Yeah.
Would you say storytelling changes when, depending on budget or the different product that you have?
Yeah, for sure. It's also just selling, right? So if you're selling pest control, which I did do one summer, which I hated, versus I'm selling adventure, right? That's way easy. If I'm convincing you to come to Italy to go hike in the Dolomites and sail from Sardinia to Corsica on the sailboat, which we did 2 years ago, that's an easy trip for me to sell. I can sell that to you and not feel awkward about it. But when it comes to selling a product that you don't believe in, it's way more difficult. Yeah. And actually understanding how to sell things that you don't believe in or you don't really care about gives you the practice to know how to do that for things you do care about.
Yeah, you're almost more potent to really sell well your product, your idea.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tell us more about how that adventure thing came to be. Were you always this adventurous or liked being outside?
Growing up, I was in Boy Scouts and I got an Eagle Scout as well. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't extremely adventurous. I was a very busy kid. I was very studious. I got good grades. I also went to Japanese school on Saturdays growing up. So my Saturdays were busy. Mm-hmm. When for most kids, you got to go to birthday parties on Saturdays or you got to go on camping trips. And I didn't get to do that. unless it was like a rare occasion. And so there were a couple trips that I was able to go on for scouts, but it was very rare. That gave me like a taste for adventure, but it was really only when I got to BYU and I got invited on the Moab trip just from some friends that I really came to love adventure. And then when I discovered that love, it was pretty quick from there to,
it was an
to get
instant
into it.
love
It
connection.
was, yeah.
That's awesome. How do you feel when you're outside? Or like what things that brought out of you that you like really I really love this side of me that you wanted to explore more?
I remember when I graduated BYU and I didn't have any jobs lined up. I didn't really know where I wanted to work. And so I just kept working as a waiter and I was a substitute teacher. And I was really happy because on the weekends, I would go adventure and I'd go to Moab and Zion. And that spring to summer was, I think, one of the happiest moments of my life. I didn't have money, but I was just doing what I loved. And I was actually giving myself permission to do what I loved. And I think most people don't let themselves follow like what their heart or passion wants. And it was just this rare, interesting moment in my life where I was actually proud that I was allowing myself to pursue my own interests. And then that led to me running out of money and then having to find a job.
Yeah.
But I don't regret that.
Yeah.
And some people want to get into adventure or they want to do more things with their life, but they don't do it because they think money is the obstacle. And money is never the obstacle. It's just you have these excuses and you have to get rid of them.
For sure. Yeah, I think we put so many obstacles in like our dreams or our aspirations that maybe, with some research or figure it out, like you said, when you have smaller budget, maybe the product or the idea is even better, right? That's fascinating. So tell us more, like, okay, so you went on that Moab trip and then you found that desire to live that kind of life of like, okay, go more adventures. For you, I know a lot of people have different definitions of adventure. To you, what it is adventure and what kind of life do you live because of that?
Yeah, adventure can be a lot of different things for people, but I think it's stepping out into the unknown is really the true definition. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're planning a trip to Japan, which I have this beautiful itinerary that I've had about 30, 40 friends ask for my itinerary to Japan like every year. And I'm happy to share it for anyone that wants it. However, I still say in the itinerary, I recommend people just go there without a plan, right? Like I actually recommend people to just go explore, because when you go even to a local place or to an international country, you can over-plan something and then it takes away the magic of discovery, right? The magic of exploration. And I think that's true adventure, which is having the right balance of planning plus allowing yourself to explore. So if you're planning a trip to Japan, the thing is most people, and maybe this is an American problem, because I remember I was in Tasmania in Australia, so the southern island, 2 years ago. I remember meeting a couple Europeans and they get like 4 to 6 weeks off per year. And for us, we get a week, 10 days. And so naturally, when you plan that trip to Hawaii or to Japan, that is your vacation. And so you just obsess about making it perfect. But in that obsession, you kill adventure.
You want to maximize your time, and maybe like you said, you want to see everything, or like you want to optimize your time, basically. And that way you take away improvisation and discovery. What do you think? Because I think our society used to have a lot more of that, right? Like, what things changed that really made us less adventurous, or some of those changes that happened years or decades ago that really made us more like in our shells, or be more, I don't know, more cautious on things?
That's an interesting question. I think we're less curious. We're just distracted more. there's no room for adventure in our life. There's the social media, and the moment that we're feeling anxiety and not sure what to do, we turn to a distraction. And so if you don't have room or allow yourself the curiosity to be like, I've always wanted to go here, but I don't know what that would look like, and being comfortable with the unknown, right? Going through those steps, that prevents people from being adventurous, in my opinion.
For sure. So something that really interesting about you started this group trip, right? Like the Moab and Beyond.
Yep.
So it's an annual trip, right? But tell us how that all started. Like successes and fails. Like what did you learn from those experiences?
The Moab and Beyond group started. It was such a cheesy name.
No, it works.
I created it on a whim, and the way that I did it was I got invited on this Moab trip, and as soon as I got off of it, I was like, I want to bring friends to Moab because I experienced it. It was incredible. So I didn't there were a lot of things that I did right that back then that I didn't realize that I just happened to be right and successful. And one of the things I did was, it's important to point out that before Moab and Beyond, I had started a different adventure group called Utah Adventures. It kind of failed. And the reason it failed was I was trying to do everything by myself. And I was planning things, I was planning activities, and I was the only one invested. Right? And sometimes people would, come, and it was fine, and we had fun adventures, but it was just all on me. And what I changed about Moab and Beyond was I talked to 4 other friends that were also adventurous, and I said, hey, can you invite 4 or 5 other friends of yours to come to this trip? Right? So instead of me planning, being the main organizer, I kind of split that responsibility and said, would you be interested in helping me, or let's plan a trip together? And so they had more ownership of the trip. They invited a couple of their close friends, and that turned into a group of 50 people. And it turns out when people help out, they feel like they're involved, right? And so suddenly it's not about just one person. And I think that was the magic. And so we got there to Moab, and it was, there's this story of, I had rented this cave in Moab that you could sleep in. Yeah, it fits 100 people.
I don't think a lot of people know about that. You can
I don't think it's there anymore. I think there's some Airbnb stuff there. But it was a really interesting experience. It was a really fun trip. The cave was kind of a bad idea because it was kind of smelly, and there was mosquitoes, and I was actually the only person that slept outside in a hammock.
You're the organizer.
I know, I was just like, I can't do this. We had this story of when I was sleeping, someone was kind of whispering my name, like, Adriel, come over here. I was like, what's going on? It was my friend Ashlyn, and she said, hey, something just happened. A skunk had wandered into the cave.
No way.
And everyone was asleep. So you think about what we're gonna do, and we were thinking, okay, we cannot let this skunk spray in the cave. So how do you get a skunk out of a cave? And there's there's 50 people sleeping on the ground, right? And so we ended up trying to get closer to it so that it would go the other direction. It turned out that when we shined the light, it was kind of run away from the light. So we did scare it out, and it
lot faster than
it didn't cause any problems, but that was a very dangerous moment. I would never have heard the end of that trip. But on that trip, it was interesting. Sometimes on trips you have these synergistic moments. I don't know if people have ever experienced this, but it doesn't happen on every trip. But there are trips where, it's a synergy that happens, and you just feel bonded as a group because you're just sharing this incredible experience. And this happened on Moab. And so after the trip happened, I just created a Facebook group to share pictures. That was the only purpose for it. And then people just kept inviting other people to trips, hey, I have a trip I'm planning. And someone else said, I have a trip I'm planning. And then from there, I turned it from Moab to Moab and Beyond.
Oh, okay. So
If
like
that makes
other,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then we made it an annual trip.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then the other interesting thing about that group was I, it was always a secret group on Facebook, so you could not even search for it. And I think that was actually the key to its success in the sense of if you've ever been on public adventure groups like hiking, canyoneering, scuba diving, they are nasty places to hang out in.
Really?
I mean, nasty might be a strong word, but people just aren't very nice,
Wow.
right? And I don't think humans are meant to be in extremely large groups of like 10,000 people or more, because I mean, think about all the nasty comments you see on
Yeah.
social media in general. And so I wanted a group that was friends of friends only, and I would tell friends, don't tell your friends about this group unless they're a good fit.
Yeah.
And so naturally, what do people do? They tell their
You
friends.
tell friends.
So it worked out well, and it was just like a very, very slow growth. And over time, people, left the group, or they were more busy. They got married, right? And some married couples stayed involved, but constantly changing. And the common thing was, like when you needed adventure, people would come back and participate.
Yeah. That's so cool. So how many years you've done it so far?
This will be the 11th year.
11th year.
Yeah.
Tell us what has changed. You talked about some people leaving. It's kind of like, new groups in and out. What are the things that have changed, like good and bad, but like that you have taken and maybe made a better experience for everyone?
Experience, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the challenges was just the social media landscape. Like, we'd planned it on Facebook, and over time people stopped using Facebook. And so we had to shift to Instagram, and we tried different messaging groups like Discord. That's one of my ideas. I forced half of the group to get on it, and I realized I don't really use Discord.
Yeah.
And everyone realized they don't either. And so that worked well at the beginning. Then we tried WhatsApp, and now we're thinking about GroupMe, but messaging is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to create a group text. Email could work.
Yeah.
So there are some issues there. But over time, what I realized was what I try to do is just try to get feedback from people. And right now we're trying to plan more monthly or weekly activities. Like, we do a weekly climbing group.
Yeah.
We might do a weekly hiking group. And I think a good entrepreneur or a good community leader is just always looking for feedback and providing the channel for that. So I do surveys where it's anonymous, and people could just give me feedback, and we react to that.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's not like a paid gig, right? We do things at cost, so we don't make any money. That's actually one of the things that makes this group very interesting, is because our motivations are purely for adventure, and what we get out of it is friendship, quality friendship, and like, that's payment enough. There are other groups out there that, like the OAC or other adventure groups, that do a better job at charging more money, and I think there is an argument for, by charging more money, it becomes more sustainable, right? I just decided I want this to be a side thing and not like a full-time job or anything. So
sure.
I'm happy with that decision. It's led to some disorganization on my part, chaos, but you know what?
You learn as you go.
Yeah,
Right?
we've had good friendships come out of it.
Yeah.
People get married out of the group, and so
Wow.
it's just been a good experience overall. So I'll do this as long as friends want to be involved.
Yeah.
And right now we're kind of making the shift towards doing more activities that are welcoming to like married couples that want to stay involved. Because I'd say in the last several years, it's been more of a singles group. But really our focus is it's an adventure group. And like, regardless of religion or relationship status, it's just adventure. Like, if you love adventure, you're welcome. I've actually really wanted to get some of the parents of my friends involved, because I would love a bit more like a multi-generational thing. Because you think about, like, unless you're in a church dynamic, you don't get multi-generational learning that gets passed on if it's not family. And I just want more of that. And I think it's actually exciting for adventurers to see couples or older folks that are adventurous.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, like this isn't just a singles thing. Like I can do this my entire life. And I think that's inspirational.
That's so cool. I think that's a great way to take it. Like embrace everyone, like make everyone welcome. And you talked about like involving the married couples, but it's one of the things I was thinking, like, for these single adults, like seeing how these married couples interact, or how even a moment, because you have moments for just smaller groups, like people are naturally connecting, and there'll be moments for advice, and people will be connecting in different phases of life. That's amazing.
Well, we're working on it. It's
Yeah,
not perfect yet. So it's
great
I'm
direction.
single, so it's my mind goes more towards the singles activities, but I do want to make that transition. It actually feels better as a group to focus on like non-single things.
Yeah.
It feels like more of a trend, it kind of moves from a trend, like a temporary group where you're just there because you're getting something out of it. You get to meet people and happen to go on adventures, to, oh wow, like these are lifelong friends that I could have. And that is just an incredible thing that I think people are missing right now in the world, is how do I build friendships that last, especially for men, right? Loneliness is a thing. And I think adventure is actually really important for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk more about that. Like, what are some things that are causing this loneliness epidemic? Not just with men, of course, but with everyone, that you think that adventure brings those values and benefits back.
Well, and I'll say something about loneliness, is that loneliness isn't like a good or bad thing, right? Like loneliness is just a feeling that you have. And it's something that your body is trying to communicate something to you, right? So like there are many times when I feel lonely. And I think it's like our body's way of saying, like, you need to be around people, right? Like you need to change something about your behavior, right? So I think it becomes a bad thing if over an extended period of time, like you don't change your behavior and you continue to feel that. But loneliness is something that sometimes people try to just get rid of by like getting married or hanging out with friends. And I think the reality is that loneliness will always be a part of our lives, right? Like even if you get married, there'll be times when your spouse passes away before you, your kids get older, and you're in like a facility, right, for older people. And so like you do have to deal with those emotions regardless. But one of the reasons why I think loneliness and how adventure helps loneliness is, the way I think about it is, let's take it from a guy's perspective, right? For most men, the way they connect with other men that I've observed is, I don't know if you'd relate, video games and sports, right? Which are two extremely, it sounds terrible, but shallow ways, interactions, right? So when you have a sports game or video games, even with friends that I'm good friends with, and we hang out and do that, it's fun, but it's just very a shallow activity.
It's usually just about that topic,
There's this concept called men prefer shoulder-to-shoulder activities. So you're focused on something, but you get to interact, right? So it's kind of like throwing a football, or you're watching a football game, or you're doing video games and you get to talk a little bit. But I've come up with this theory of mine to say that the best way to build relationships is that there's no replacement for spending time with someone else, right? So the equation is literally just quality time. And you think about what's the acceptable amount of time that you can spend with someone during a week. Usually it's 2 to 3 hours. You go to dinner, that's an hour. A sports game, maybe that's an hour and a half. Maybe you play something together, max 2 to 3 hours. When you go on an adventure trip and you spend 24 to 48 hours in a car, you're on a road trip and you're doing a rappelling activity. And like it doesn't take you very long to run out of surface level conversations. And then you start talking about things that are deeper. Also, there's this concept of when people get together on a weekly basis and they catch up with friends, the danger of just catching up and getting dinner is that you just talk about, hey, like, how's your life going? Like, tell me what's going on. You're just catching up, but you're not creating new memories together. And what I love about adventure is that you are creating these unique memories that when you think back to like, oh, I did this with my friend, like you will remember that the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so I think for some reason, adventure just fills this space of spending quality time with other people, and it speeds up the time to create friendship for others. So like if there's anything that I think people should do to create friendship, if that's what they're struggling with, it'd be to go on more adventure trips with the people they want to become friends with, or with the people that they care about.
Interesting. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, because I look at my own life. I can tell like there are friends that move away, and then we get together, and we always go back to those moments where we're doing those adventures.
Yeah.
But because they're away, maybe there's another way to create memories. Super interesting. And you mentioned in the beginning how to you adventure is usually stepping outside of your comfort zone, something like the unknown, right? Have you seen any specific activities that like maybe are better, or that maybe you see people connect better?
Like they connect better through adventure, or?
Yeah, through adventure. You say like adventure could be rappelling, or even going to a foreign country. What are some maybe your favorite ways of doing that?
I think there are like levels of adventure, right? And where people make mistakes when it comes to adventure is they try to go on, like the worst mistake you can make, in my opinion, is you go on an international trip with a bunch of strangers, right? Or you're putting a trip together, and there's a couple people that you kind of know, you don't know, and you're going on this really expensive trip to Europe or wherever. That's not the place to discover if you're compatible with someone traveling wise, because people have way different tastes. Some people prefer to stay in bougie Airbnbs. Some people love to wake up late in the morning. Some people like to plan everything. Some people forget their passports everywhere. Some people it's just you need to discover that before you go on an international trip.
Yeah.
And so then you think, okay, what's the next category? And that might be in the US, right? And you're still flying to somewhere, but it's not international. So the cost is lower, but there's still cost involved. And then the step below that is maybe a road trip, right? But it's across state lines, or a road trip within your state. And then there is, okay, what's an adventure activity that I can do in my city, right? Like rock climbing at a gym. And so start at the beginning and then move up.
Yeah.
Right? Don't skip steps. And then plus anything that's local to you is just easier. Go on a hike, right? For sunset, get a couple friends together. That's what I would do to just find your adventure people. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's what I.
No, that's great. I think because to a lot of this, there's no one right or wrong answer, but it's more of discovering your people, see if you're compatible. And I think one of the things we can talk about is that in your groups, you usually do small activities throughout the year. And that way, like you said, when these people get together for like a bigger activity, a bigger trip, they know each other already. And it's an easier connection, easier experience, or better experience, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's perfect answer.
I'll add one more comment, which is,
please.
No matter what you do, you cannot convince someone that does not want to adventure to adventure.
Yeah.
This is the one rule you should remember, right? If someone does not want to go hiking, you cannot force them to go hiking. You cannot force them to go camping. Trust me, I've tried so many times, right? In order to get these fun trips together, I invite like double or triple the amount of people, right? That say they actually will go. And the people that cancel last minute. And I don't know what it is, but some people, this is not a criticism, but some people just are flakers. And I accept that. I do. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're in a place in your life when you can't commit to something, or at least to adventure, and that's okay. Yeah. But just know that people do pay attention to that, right? There are people who commit to trips that I plan, and then they flake the last minute. And it's a personality trait. I don't know what it is, and I'll usually give them one more chance, and I'll invite them again. But if you get invited to an event or a trip that someone spent a lot of time planning and you flake, like, and if you still want to go on adventures, just do everything in your power to reassure that person that you want to go and go to the next invite.
Yeah.
And the reason is people don't have an unlimited amount of room for like sending these invites out. Right? It takes a lot of emotional bandwidth to send these invites, right? And I think it's something for. There's this thing of people want to be part of community, right? And there are certain people that are better at organizing community and planning events, but you also need to be a good villager, right? You need to be a good member of the community. And the way that you do that is not only do you show up when you say you're going to show up, but you go and you ask, like, how can I help, right? Like you are, for example, this last big Moab trip that we had, we cooked pizzas in a camping spot in Moab, way in the desert, for 100 people. Right?
Wow.
So we had these pizza ovens. It was awesome. And I had someone else doing the pizza stuff, and so they had actually commented to me afterwards saying that it was very interesting to see all the people who were very selfish versus the people that are really helpful, right? And just be the person that's helpful on these trips. That's how you get invited back. Also, if you're planning your own adventure, you want to start your own adventure group, don't just plan an activity out of the blue. Talk to a couple of friends to plan it with you.
Well, I think we've had a lot of great topics. One thing I want to talk about, you mentioned you're half Japanese, right? And you've gone through Japanese school. Can you tell us more about that and how that maybe shaped who you are or your values and how you see the world?
Yeah, I think this is a part of my life that a lot of my friends don't know about, which is my Japanese side. And it's kind of difficult to talk about or to explain to someone who's never been to Japan or to an Asian country. I often tell my friends or someone I'm dating, like, you'll never really know me until you go to Japan, with me, right? Because, and you're Brazilian, right? You understand, you speak Portuguese, I speak Portuguese as well. And when you speak a different language, you almost think in a different way, right? You see the world in a different way. And so, and like when someone goes to Brazil, like they can relate to you more. The same thing with Japan. So with, my mom is Japanese. She's from Hiroshima, Japan, and my dad, they met at BYU. And then as I grew up, my sister and I, we got to go to Japanese school. And there are private Japanese schools in the US, and then there's government-funded Japanese schools by the Japanese government.
Okay.
And in order to participate, you have to be a Japanese expat. So at least to the government-related ones. And so they follow the same curriculum as the ones in Japan. We get homework, we do testing. It's on Saturdays, usually from like 9 a.m. to like 3 p.m., right? Like think of like all the things that you'd do on a Saturday as a kid, right? None of the things I got to do. I was in school, and I would study throughout the week. I'll give you an idea. It's crazy to really think about it. There's this thing called honyomi in Japanese, where we would have to read out of a textbook to our parents. Like that was the homework. I honestly don't know if the other students did it, but my mom, she was very strict. And so we'd wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
And we'd read for 30 minutes while my mom made breakfast. And then I'd get ready, do any homework that I needed to. And then at 6 a.m. I'd go to seminary, right, for church and stuff. And then I'd go to high school at 7 a.m., right? And then I'd have homework when I get back. And then I have English homework. Then I had sports, right? And I was doing usually like 2 to 3 sports. So I actually often say like high school is more difficult than college for me because I just had way more things going on.
Busy kid.
Yeah, exactly. And as a result though, I'm grateful for my mom for this, right? And my parents for supporting me in this because, now I'm fluent in Japanese. I read and write it as well. And it's just a big, part of my life. And so I'm very grateful to be able to go back to Japan, speak the language. Unlike my sister, I don't look Japanese. And so I kind of get this they call foreigners gaijin, right? So this gaijin treatment. So if I do speak Japanese poorly, they usually say like, "Oh my gosh, your Japanese is so good," right? The worst thing in Japan is to look Japanese and not speak the language well.
Yeah, it's
They're
kind of like
they're
a dishonor. You're like,
to you, so. But yeah, that's a little bit of my Japanese side. So it was a lot of homework, a lot of effort growing up, and yeah, it just shaped a lot of who I am today.
For sure. Wow. I can't imagine like do double school and like weekends and yeah. Did you do any sports specifically with that school, or was kind of like other outside activities?
I would play some like volleyball or dodgeball during recess, but nothing like sports related.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me, where did you grow up and what state?
Seattle, Washington.
Seattle. So does it have more of a Japanese community? Okay.
Usually like it's California and Seattle are the big hubs for Japanese
the West
people.
Coast. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, that's so fascinating. So looking back of all your adventures, you've gone on over 200 trips?
200 plus, yeah.
And of course there's some memorable ones, but is there any other ones like really shape the way you see life or really change you or that really impacted you that you could share?
There's always, this is a difficult question to answer. I've gone on a lot of adventures. I think I'm at like 29 countries or so. And one of the reasons I've been able to do that, there's a lot of local trips I've done and there's international trips I've done. And the reason I've been able to do so many international is I've been able to get flight benefits through a friend that's a flight attendant. So like if you don't have money and you want to travel, go work at an airport, get those flight benefits. Yeah. That gives you an excuse to travel, right? And I have a lot of things to say about that. But I remember one of the cool things about adventuring, like I remember when I was going to Cape Town, South Africa, and I remember like flying in and you see those big mountains and, right, like in your head, the Lion King song plays and, right, and you have these moments in life that feel like you're in a movie and it just feels like an adventure and you're like, what is my life right now, right? I think there's a lot of people that it's been a long time since they felt that. And if that's you, just realize that is a really important part of life, which is to have adventure in your life. And, it doesn't happen every trip I go on, but it happens pretty often where you're just kind of like, I don't really know how I got here, but it's incredible. And that alone doesn't mean you'll be happy, but it really is important to feel yourself expand as a person, to expand your borders. You don't have to travel internationally to do that. It can be local. Yeah. That's where you should start. But just know that like when I've had those experiences, it's just expanded me as a person. And it doesn't always have to be in group travel, so it can be solo travel as well. Yeah. And those are actually two different types of adventure travel experiences that are both important. So I would recommend both. Yeah.
If you can touch on that, like we mentioned a lot about group travels, but what are the benefits of solo travel? You've done a few?
I've done a couple of solo traveling. I mean, I don't know if there's a movie about a guy that dies in Alaska. Okay. I can't remember the name of it. I'm sure people are going to think of it.
Yeah, put on the comments, whoever remembers.
Put in the comments. But yeah, there's this, traveling, in my opinion, is always better with people, for sure. But there are times when solo traveling really makes a difference. The difference between group travel and solo travel is that when you go solo, you're actually more open to adventure and the world. You're more open to meeting people. Yeah. Think about if you're in a group of 4 people and you're in a new country, you're going to stick to that group of people. You're not going to go talk to strangers unless you need directions somewhere, right? If you're a solo person and you're not like a creep, people will kind of like reach out to you and kind of try to help you out and then you make random friends and connections that you otherwise wouldn't have met. So if you're in a place in your life where that makes sense, like, go travel. There are countries that are safer than others, right? Like, I mean, I would say like if you were wanting to solo travel, Europe is an amazing place to go. Places like Vietnam, Thailand are generally more friendly towards like or Japan even. You will find people as you travel there, and you'll have to deal with some hard feelings of like loneliness and things. But when you feel those things, try to expand out, meet some people. Hostels are a great place to stay, and those are one of those things where it makes sense to do when you're a little bit younger, right? Like in your 20s or early 30s. And when you get older, hostels become more difficult to do. So take advantage of it while you can.
Absolutely. Is there any final words of advice for someone that wants to make a more intentional life with adventure that you can give to people?
Yeah, I think the question people might have around adventure is, if I want to be adventurous, and I don't know where to start, like what would I do? And my advice is the single most important thing you can do is surround yourself with people who are adventurous. Like you have to physically go to where those adventurous people are. That might mean joining a climbing gym, reaching out to a friend, right? Because you're never going to convince your current group of friends who don't adventure and travel to do that. I can't tell you of the most incredible like conversations that I have with my friends who love to adventure and travel. Like we're talking about what to do all day long, right? Like when and it's a whole different category when I'm talking with my flight attendant friends. Like they're talking about, oh, my birthday's next weekend and I want to go to South Africa. I want to go to Thailand. And they don't have a lot of money actually, always because they don't get paid a lot, but their form of wealth is traveling and they can fly pretty much for free. And so just put yourself in a situation where the people around you are adventurous. Like you have to do that. And if you're looking for adventurous friends, right, like find an adventure group.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Find your socials, or if they want to be following the adventure groups?
I mean, my Instagram is Adriel YJ. I won't tell you our Instagram for the Moab group because you try finding it. But it's a friend's a friend thing, so become my friend first.
Exactly.
I'll invite you. So, or find someone that is in the group, and they get invited that way.
Awesome. Thank you, Adriel.
Okay. Thank you.